understood that there was a shift from selling product to selling what is called unit of satisfaction. So a paper page, the last satisfaction and the unit of satisfaction that I want, not the product, okay? The value is not more on the individual ownership, but on the access to something. And the innovation is not at the beginning a technological innovation, but an innovation in terms of new interaction between different stakeholders. Xerox and Politecnico di Milano. I'm not selling, I have a different interaction. Okay, then it's even a technological innovation. And so these, we started to understand in those years that these were promising models, they were win-win business model. And since then, just to give you an idea that different authors worldwide start to study this and give definition around product service system that were in industrialized context studied as environmentally and economically sustainable. And then, of course, even designer, like me for example, another colleague, we were starting to work on understanding what could have been the role of the designer in designing such a product service system. How we design this product plus service, because they are offering a product plus a service that has to be sustainable, made so. And it was understood in those years that compared to a normal product sale offer, there has to be what is called a satisfaction system approach. So while designing, the key point was not to design a product, but to think at the beginning to the unit of satisfaction. What is the real satisfaction that they want to have a copied paper, okay? So that is what they pay for. So I move towards that, or even more, they become even a document company or communication company. You can say it's not just a paper, I want that some information move to one place to another. So thinking to this, you can introduce radical innovation in which some product and some services may disappear even. And you can rethink completely the system to be even more sustainable. The second thing is that the understanding of those years, that what was understood, it was that before then the technological innovation, designer has to think in terms of designing a new interaction among the different stakeholders of a system. When these stakeholder interaction are made well, in the sense that then they make the company be interested for an economical reason to design a low environmental impact, wow, we are there, okay? But we have to be able, so a designer at that point should be able to design on a system level the stakeholder interaction. And of course, to design this stakeholder interaction to be eco-efficient, because not all the stakeholder interaction are good. Some of those are environmentally and economically sustainable, and so they have to be able to do that. So some definition of the role were given, and some methods were developed. There were some EU-funded research, and from 2005, and the United Nations Environmental Program that financed research that helped achieve to develop this method and tools, and I took part. I was lucky to be part of some of those, and this is maybe the reason why I'm teaching this to you right now. We move to the last step, which is design for social equity. That came more recently when we understood that there could be a role of the designer in improving social equity and cohesion. No? How we can do that? Could we really do that? To be honest, about design and consumption, something not related to sustainability, but something happened in the history of the design even earlier. If you have studied a little bit history of design, I believe so. For example, here in Italy, the radical design movement in the 60s with Gaetano Pesce, Dalisi and others were actually working on designing against consumerism, or designing with, for example, Dalisi with together with the children of poor area of Naples, which is a city in center south of Italy. So taking the designer closer to the social and socio-ethical dimension. As well, at the beginning of the 70s, there are two authors very famous that deal theoretically in relation to the responsibility of designer. The first one is Maldonado. He wrote a very famous book, The Design Hope, in which he claimed for a responsibility for the designer. And Papanek, I believe you know, even he was basically, he wrote this famous book, Design for a Real World, in 1973, basically quite in the same year, in which again they were saying to the designer, listen designer, you have to think about and do something to rise up your responsibility for the environmental and socio-ethical issue. Not really say what to do in a practical dimension, but saying we have to do something. So taking the issue up to the attention. Okay? And if we look today, what are the main approaches to that? One is, have you ever heard about BOP? The BOP, the base of the pyramid is this. Here are the rich, here are the poor. So there are lots of poor and very little of rich. And so someone is saying that if we sell very cheap product, but to very many people, even company may have an income, okay, which is given by, because we are selling very, very, very many products to this. There is someone that is working on this topic to make products that are affordable to very low income people and making the company interest by being able to sell lots of product and so on. I've not been working on that, and I don't want to say something against this. I've been working on, and this is another area, on product service system, as we saw before, but even in terms of the socio-ethical advantages or benefit that this business model may give, and we will see something about this, and even about the distributed economy, which is to design small-scale production unit that many times are nectar structure, like the solar panel that I may have on my roof, and if you are living nearby me, you may have it on your roof as well, and maybe we have energy sharing. If I have a surplus of energy, I can give it to you, and so on, and we can share if you are in a neighborhood or something like this. Like energy, as I said, there are different types of distributed production, like 3D printing, or information, like could be Wikipedia, is a distributed production of information, and so on. So an interest went into that, and more recently, and this is part, as I said, of this consortium of university worldwide, we are working on the combination of these two promising models, because it seems that their combination, and we will see this in the course of this course, it's really very interesting and promising. And here I make an example, because since 2002, some example of sustainable product service system, and in this case this is even applied to distributed renewable energy, may offer advantages. So in this case, a company in Tanzania, Empower, offered to rural people so-called a solar home system. So they offer a solar panel plus some energy using product. I think that there are lights and 4 charger or something like this. Okay, how they offer this? As an SPSS, so retaining the ownership. Okay, they retain the ownership of either the solar panel and the phone charger and the other. They are paid per period, so the period that they are using the solar panel and this, the people pay. If something happens, the people don't have to repair either the solar panel or the phone charger. Is the company that has to do this. But we understood that if the company has to do this, we'll design this to last longer, to be easy repair, and so on. Okay? But this has an advantage even for low-income people. And why? because it cut the purchasing cost. They don't have to buy the solar panel. It's too expensive for them. They would never be able to buy it. So they don't buy it. Maybe they get it because there is someone that collects some money to give for free a solar panel. It gets broken. They don't have the money to repair it. But in an SPSS, you cut either initial investment cost, and you don't have, low-income people, you don't have the cost of repairing it, because it's up to the producer that, of course, has produced this to be most efficient in terms of reparation and whatever, long-lasting and blah, blah. So by cutting the initial investment cost and by avoiding the cost, the life cycle service cost for repair or maintenance, something that may cause interruption of use, make the SPSS even interesting in low and middle income context. Okay, with some specific characteristics that we will see, but that was the point. Okay, the first publication into which this appeared was in 2002. It was a UNEP publication, still available online. It's a bit old, but I was pleased to lead this project with different researchers from different parts of the world, and there we started to think, because the UNEP said to us, okay, you speak about PSS, you are an expert, but you are all the time speaking about PSS in industrialized context and for the environmental and the economic. That is clear. We are UNEP, world, we want to see if this is good even for other contexts and for the socio-ethical issue. And this leads us to understand this, and what I said to you before. We start working and making case study, and we say, oh, they put it on the table, but that is true. In some certain condition, that was true. So that was really very interesting.